It's illegal to do service accommodation, short-term rental, Airbnb, whatever you want to call it, in a leasehold apartment. I get this a lot, I hear this a lot, and there's an awful lot of nonsense being said about it, so I just thought I'd clear that up. Quite a nice backdrop today. I've got Plymouth Lido, or Lido, however you want to say it, whether if you're Plymouthian, in the background, because I am in Plymouth currently, trying to get used to this gimbal. Bit of a shout out to Jenny Mitchell, who bought me this gimbal, and I thought I'd better use it before she gives me a bit of a bollocking when I see her next. Right, so leasehold apartments. Can you do service accommodation in them? Yes, you can. We've got leasehold apartments we've been doing service accommodation in for donkey's years. But here's the thing, sometimes the lease allows you to do it and sometimes it doesn't. And so you've got to check the lease. Now then, some people do check the lease and they just come to the conclusion that you can't do service accommodation in it because it says something like no business use in the property. And that actually doesn't mean that you can't do service accommodation. Just try and adjust this gimbal a little bit, that's better. And it doesn't mean you can't do service accommodation. It's a bit of an ambiguous term, isn't it? No business use. I mean, how many people run their business from home these days, and how many people work from home, and their registered address, business addresses at home. So it's a bit ambiguous, that one. There's actually case law on this where lease conditions like that were being quoted by the landlord to try and stop someone doing Airbnb in a property, and it basically overruled the landlord where it said no business use, because it's still residential use. No business use. Yes, it is a grey area, but let's face it, you can't run a sandwich shop or a motorbike repair shop out of it or something like that. But service accommodation is residential use of a property, and let's face it, the no business use, someone's going to interpret that and come to a decision. That could be the owner of the property, it could be freeholder, it could be the block management company that come to a decision. So we've been told in the past, oh well, the lease says no business use, you can't do service accommodation, and we've still done it because that doesn't mean you can't do service accommodation. This gimbal is doing my head in. Jenny, I'll get better at using this gimbal, don't worry. Right, so here's the thing, you've got to see the lease and then make your decision. Now, it does, if it says no short-term rental, and if it says owner occupier or buy-to-let only, or something very, very specific, then all right. Goodness me, let me just spin this round. Okay. Then all right, if it's specific, then that's not that's very clear, right? It's only when there's a grey area you can make your decision. So always have a look at the lease before you make your decision whether to do service accommodation. Now, if you own the property, then that's fine, you can get your copy of the lease. Sometimes people don't know where their lease is. Your lawyer might have a copy of it, the lawyer that did the conveyancing. If it's a leasehold property, there's normally a block management company in place, so they should have a copy of the lease as well. And so ask the block management company for a copy of the lease. Now, sometimes block management companies will say, oh, why do you want a copy of the lease? Why is that really their business if you own the property? Just say, look, you can't find your own lease, and the lender is asking for a copy of the lease, okay, the mortgage lender, and that should hopefully satisfy them. So that's what you should say. Now, if you say to the block management company, oh, it's because we want to do service accommodation, they're just going to say, oh no, you're not allowed to do service accommodation, whether or not the lease allows it or not. So my advice is don't ask or don't tell the block management company you're going to do service accommodation. Wait to see the lease and then decide whether or not the lease prohibits it. Now, we've got a second home in Plymouth at the moment, and it's a leasehold property, and there's several other Airbnbs or short-term rentals in the building. And yes, there are word stuff in the lease that some people might think, oh well, that stops you doing service accommodation. So that's another thing. Are there other Airbnbs, if you like, in the block? How long have they been there? Because that suggests that block management companies are going to be a bit more relaxed about it. So that's always something to check to see whether there's other short-term rentals in the building, because then you know whether or not you're going to be able, you're probably going to be okay. It suggests that you're not going to end up having a big battle with the block management company, and that's something worth mentioning. Life's too short to have battles with block management companies, isn't it? This gimbal. So if the lease does allow it but the block management company are going to be an absolute nightmare, then you can make your decision. Do you really want to get into a pitch battle with them? But so it's a decision that you can make. Now, when you're buying a property, so we had this recently, buying a property, leasehold, and we said to the agent, right, we want to see a copy of the lease. And they're saying why. We said, well, we might want to do short-term rental, and the agent saying, oh well, they were terrible, to be honest. They were saying, oh, the lawyers do all that stuff, they're just fobbing us off. I said, well, that's fine, we're not going to be making an offer on the property unless you can get a copy of the lease then. And they came back with, oh well, lawyers do that. I'm not going to spend money on lawyers to find out that the lease doesn't allow it, when the agent can just pull their finger out and get a copy of the lease from the owner, right? So that we can have a look at it and then decide whether or not we want to buy it in order to do service accommodation or not. And sometimes the agent will just tell you what they think the lease allows and doesn't allow. Okay, jog on. I want to see a copy of the lease so I can make my own decision on whether or not to spend money on the property or not in the conveyancing, etc. So that's really, really important. If you're buying a property, you want to see the lease, right? And remember, no business use does not mean you can't do serviced accommodation. It has to be specific. It has to say owner occupier only, no Airbnb. Sometimes we've had properties where it says no Airbnb, and in the area we don't get many bookings via Airbnb, so we've just thought, okay, that's fine, we'll just do booking.com instead. So modern leases, right? So quite a lot of the modern leases, so new build apartment blocks, the leases are written to prohibit short-term rental service accommodation. So when you've got apartment blocks that are a little bit older, then you're more likely to get a lease that is more conducive to doing serviced accommodation. So just thought it's important to mention that. Some people say that it's illegal to do service accommodation in leasehold properties. No, it depends whether the lease allows it or not. Some leases do, some leases don't. Block management companies can be a challenge, and let's face it, it's because of some people doing service accommodation badly and they're getting problems and there's complaints from neighbours and things like that. So you can sort of understand where they're coming from. You can understand where they're coming from. But have a look at the lease. Business use doesn't prohibit SA. Has to be specific to prohibit SA. So hopefully that was useful. Here's to your success in service accommodation. My success in using this gimbal needs to get better, Jenny, but okay, I'll use YouTube and see what I'm doing wrong. So got any questions, got any comments, let me know, and I will endeavour to answer your questions. Here's to your success in service accommodation. Remember, from me, the property soldier, your future prosperity needs you. Take care.